Good morning. Good morning from Vermont, where 98%, 99% of all the snow has melted. Maybe 99.5%. There's little splotches. And I mean, that's impressive because I live on the tundra and it has been packed with snow. We had a lot of snow this winter, all winter. Lots and lots of snow. So today, I've already had my coffee. Because of the weather shift, it's pretty extreme. I feel like spring is going to hit. It's going to hit hard here. I feel very different today. I feel more awake today. I'm signed up for a yoga class at 11 a.m., which I'm very excited about. I'm taking a class with Avery. And I just said her. My Gen X brain annoys me. Avery, they, them, Avery. I've mentioned Avery before, and they are amazing, and their class is amazing, and I've been disconnected for a long time, and they're helping me out. I was already on a discount because I got in on their program very early when they started it online after COVID hit, and so I was getting like half off the unlimited, which was a really good deal. You just couldn't cancel, and so I kept paying for it for months, even though I was running around the country and had no way to do yoga. I just paid it because I didn't want to lose it, which, looking back was sort of silly, but I'm also happy to give them money because they're amazing. They give me more than a lot of people give me, even just the space they take up in my mind. So anyway, they gave me another discount because I asked and because I miss them and that connection, even if it's just in my mind. So I'm going back to class today. I'm excited about that. But anyway, everything feels a little different today, a little shifted. I have a few topics on my mind. I'm going to try to record later today as well. I have some other things I want to talk about. But I got a question from Lynn Marie, who is a member on my Patreon. Thank you so much for being a member and signing up and taking the time to listen and comment. And I want to answer you. So what Lynn said was this, and I'm going to get into it in a second. Actually, you know what? I'll save it until I'm ready to get into it. So yeah, good morning. It's Monday. Got a lot of good feedback over the weekend from a couple of people on Patreon. I'm feeling really good about that work. I'm starting to dive into some other work. I'm making some new commitments this week. Spring is the 20th. Oh my gosh. Is that Thursday? I feel it like hard. And you'll see I do pictures of my view, like the one I'm looking at right now. I do pictures at least 5 days a week, I would say, of this view and of what's happening. And you will watch spring bloom in Vermont. And it's amazing. It's like a spring bomb going off. It really is. So yeah, I'm just watching the weather and listening to the weather and feeling the weather and sitting in nature. That is where my life has taken me at this moment in time in history. I have a lot of rich, deep things happening inside of me at the moment, growth and things I want to share. But the main reason I'm here is because I want to share what comes through me as a vehicle to support the health, wellness, and well-being of the people around me and the people who right now are not living on a hilltop, who carry responsibilities and burdens that are heavy. And then you add the cultural stuff, and I can see and I can feel into everybody that I know the heaviness of this time. And I think maybe there's only a couple people, maybe only one other person, maybe a couple people who really understand that I've walked through the grief and the pain that people are going through right now, like the shock, the awe, all of it. And I would say the gift that most people have that I did not have going through this is that you have each other. You have each other to look at as a mirror and to validate this reality and this experience of now. I did not have that when I went through this grief and this grieving and this shock and this awe of the truth around me, because I went digging for it. And everybody around me was like, what are you talking about? Everybody around me was like, you're crazy. It was like living in the time of now with everything going on, but everybody around you going, what do you, everything's fine. What are you talking about? So I don't know. I just lots to say, lots happening. I'll talk about that later, some of it. So, but ask questions. This is what I'm here for. So let's get to Lynn Marie's question, or Lynn Marie's comment, rather. So they said, I'm going to message here since it might be a topic to cover. Here is Patreon, by the way. I just had an emergency root canal done. My whole entire face is in so much pain now. Lots of inflammation. It needed to be done. I am a nocturnal jaw muscle body clenched. I have a mouth guard. It helps. But I can't control the rigidness of my sleep. So it's destructive. It doesn't allow for proper rest and recuperation. Correct. So that comment, it's more really of a comment, hit me deeply. And I want to talk about it from my perspective, and I hope that some of what I'm going to say gives you a little bit more depth into what it is that I do for a living, how it is that I think about the body, how it is that I diagnose and treat people. So my first take on this, as if it was a patient coming into the office, is the first thing I think is trauma. Very first thing, it's an obvious thing, trauma. There's some trauma here. And it's deeply held, old, deeply somatized trauma. In other words, it's not a conscious process. It's not to say that there might not be conscious thoughts or dreams or processes happening or physiology happening in the body that we're not like also cognitively aware of, like, oh, I had this kind of a day and so this, or I always have this dream, or I frequently have this dream, or whatever it is. I without knowing more, when I see this, I see deeply old somatized trauma. First of all, I'm glad that you got the care that you felt that you needed, because this is the point and this is the difference between Eastern and Western medicine. Western medicine was set up and is there because we as a culture, oh my gosh, it's all just going in the same place for me today. We as a culture have lost our connection to each other and to ourselves. And the reason that ties in here is because it's about care, right? It's about how we care for our bodies, how we care for our minds, how we care for our souls, and how we then care for each other, and what we see as important and where our values are. We have lost that. And Western medicine is such a beautiful representation of that loss. Emergency care is an amazing thing. Information is an amazing thing. But when you have an entire system that is set up to be in care of an emergency, then you set up a culture for emergency. And that's such a mirror back to us, right? I was talking about mirrors and patterns the other day. It's such a mirror back to us. Our medical system is not a healthcare system. It is not about health, and it is not about care. It is about emergencies. It is about hyper-intellectualizing health. It is about professionalizing health. It is about taking it out of the hands of people. It is about taking it out of the hands of the individual. It is about taking it out of the hands of the community and making it so highly technical that people can't even understand the basic tenets of self-care, of food. Right? Is this good? Is this bad? Is this good? We're so lost. So Western medicine is great when you have reached the point of falling apart. When you have reached the point of not functioning, thank God we have that, right? But if you want to unwind, and if you want to uncoil, and if you want to get to the root of something, you are not going to find that through Western medicine. I don't care what enzymes they study. I don't care what gene therapies they do. I don't care what kind of DNA sequencing, they come up with. I don't care what kind of drug. I don't care. It's never going to get you there. Because allopathic Western medicine does not look at the root. It does not address the being, the person as a whole. ever. And I'm not talking about individual practitioners. There are individual practitioners out there who are meant to do and called to do what they do, and they do see the whole person, but it doesn't mean they have a system or a process or diagnostic tools that help them to get there. I happen to have practiced and studied a medicine that gives me those tools. Okay, so let's get back to the jaw. So when I see this, first, I'm glad you got the care you needed. Fantastic. There's no judgment there. We have to do what we have to do in this world. But now you're talking about you have lots of pain now, lots of inflammation. So there are lots of things you can do for pain and inflammation, specifically for the jaw. I'm sure that you're doing the basic things that Western medicine would say to do, maybe hot and cold. I would definitely not suggest cold. I would say if you have to do it, fine. You know, you do what you have to do is always the moral of the story. But I would suggest liniments. I would suggest gentle heat. I would suggest infrared heat. I would suggest LED light therapy. I would definitely suggest acupuncture. I would suggest cranial sacral therapy. Definitely cranial sacral therapy. I think that's probably more accessible than what I do. They have a pretty good network. You want to find somebody who's good though. Lots of good reviews. Or just somebody that you happen across. Could just get lucky. I've had that happen. In terms of the now, the healing, the inflammation and all that stuff, I would definitely do something gentle like that. Gentleness is what you're going to want to look for when it comes to jaw and muscle tension in the body. The line that struck me the most in this statement, Lynn, was, I can't control the rigidness of my sleep. And then you said, it is so destructive. It doesn't allow for proper rest and recuperation. Those last few sentences really hit me hard because because you're correct. Those words are exactly correct. And that's quite serious. That's a very serious statement, and it's also a serious, sobering truth. When you cannot sleep, you cannot recuperate, you cannot recover. Your growth hormone does not function properly in your body, along with a million other things. But let's boil it down to growth hormone. Growth hormone is what my son has right now in abundance as he grows and grows, since he was, gestating in my belly, and now he's growing as a boy. Oh my gosh, he's growing so fast. But the reason touch is so important for children, especially babies, babies need to be touched. It is a biological requirement. If babies are not touched, babies die or they get sick, very, very sick, and they will eventually die. They have to be touched. Touch stimulates growth hormone. And the only time that adults really get growth hormone is when they sleep. That is the resting cycle for the body to go within. In Chinese Eastern medicine, we say that the Wei Qi, which is the qi that sits outside of your body, there's all kinds of qi in the body, goes in to be replenished so that it can come back out. This is why we need a blanket. We should always have a blanket and sleep in a cooler place so that we can cover up, because we don't have that protection at night, because that protection is supposed to go in. And it sort of mirrors the idea of growth hormone at night, how the body replenishes at night and heals the damage of the day. So if we're not getting proper sleep, you are absolutely correct. It is absolutely destructive to the body. And sleep problems are a very real issue in this country. So much so that when I had a child at 41, I decided to focus primarily on some of the very basic things that I wanted him to have that I know people don't have after working in private practice for so many years. This child knows how to sleep. My child does not have disturbed sleep. He has a sleep schedule. He sleeps soundly. It's amazing. I'm so proud of it. And I hope he carries it with him for the rest of his life. And chances are he will, because he got it young. But when we don't sleep, we do not heal. So it is quite literally destructive to every part of your body. And to not have proper rest, my goodness. I mean, it makes my mama heart melt. And to not be able to recuperate, right? This is the destruction of a human being. And this is why, to me, I'm way too deep for this today, so I'm going to try to wrap this up. But this is why it's also personal to me. I take these personal healing issues very seriously in a way that I think we're not used to physicians taking them, and we're not used to our friends or even our family taking them, to really see us, to really look at us, to really take in our experience and to feel us and to connect with us deeply. Like that's who I am, that's where I am. So that's where I'm coming at with this statement that I'm sure Lynn is like, whoa, it's just my jaw. No, it's much more than your jaw. Okay, so let's get real nitty gritty. So the first thing I thought was trauma. And the body has a lot of different ways of dealing with trauma. There's different kinds of trauma. There's different ways we hold. There's, different types of people with different kinds of strengths and weaknesses. And so our bodies are all going to do different things. So I'm not going to be able to cover all of that here, but I am very versed in how the body deals with it. So when I heard jaw, what I heard was fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Okay, this is a sympathetic nervous system response. It is a normal one to have. We need to have that response. That's how we got away from tigers and lions and bears. Oh my. It's still how we respond naturally, hormonally, physiologically when there is a threat. And one of the first things that happens when we go into this stage is that our jaw will get tight, right? Think about like a dog or any kind of an animal that is a predator, right? We get ready, we clench, we're ready to go, right? And we can bite and we can bark. It's that clenching, and there's a lot of channels in there, deep channels, superficial channels. And the two channels that it's connected to the most, I would say, you have a lot of things that are involved here. The stomach channel goes right through. I can needle into the stomach channel. I do it all the time on people. There's a big fat muscle here that tends to be real tight. So you can get into that sort of locally. But beyond the local channel of the stomach, you have divergent channels. So there's all kinds of channel systems in the body. You have the 12 meridians. You have the 8 extraordinary vessels, and then you have all kinds of offshoots. Divergents are one. Divergent channels diverge pathogens that might otherwise attack organs, right? And the body at all costs will protect organs. It'll do everything it can to avoid organ damage, including emotionally, energetically, and physically. So there are divergent channels that things get shunted and pushed into. Now in the jaw, you have a few divergent channels. You have the spleen, the gallbladder, and the kidney that go into this area divergently. All differing levels of pathology. The kidney and the gallbladder, to me, are connected to, and this is a lot of lingo, don't get caught up on it, are connected to the daimai for me, the daimai channel. The daimai vessel is connected to, we call it the girdle vessel. It literally wraps around the body like a girdle at the hips. It goes through the kidneys energetically. And it happens to be my favorite extraordinary vessel. It also happens to be connected very strongly to the gallbladder and the kidneys. So that goes into the jaw, which leads me into, again, more of a sense of trauma, deeply held trauma, not being able to let go. So not being able to get out of that fight or flight, not being able to unclench, not being able to let go. I'm still holding on, right? Like I can't get out of that initial state of trauma. Jaw clenching is very common in this society. I'll just speak for this society, the ones I've lived in this country, which have been many, and I think representative of the kind of stress and deeply held traumas, not all of them even from this life, like some of them literally coming through our parents, this vibration of trauma and of clenching, this generational passing down. So it's one of the reasons I think that therapies like this can be so important when we look at channel theory and when we look at vessel theory and we look at I do, right? I don't expect my patients to know all this stuff. What I'm trying to express to you is that there is a theory behind these things that is so much more than what Western medicine has to offer, and that can deeply help the body to release and restore and recover and recuperate and rest. there are physical ways that we can manipulate energy to help the body to experience something new, to break the pattern that your body has been set into for weeks, months, years, decades, that get to the point that the body is so tired and overtaxed and stressed that we have to do things like cut nerves, cut muscles, get into bone, right? Take drugs to essentially trick the body. But it doesn't stop the pattern. It doesn't stop the cycle. And there's no understanding for it. And here's the other thing about this. I don't sit here and talk like this to patients in a room. I might give little pieces and parts of it, but there's no need to intellectually understand what I'm saying. And what I'm saying is very complex. These theories, these ideologies, these diagnostic systems took me a long time to understand and to study. Even when I tested and was passed by my boards in California, like I had an understanding intellectually, but to put that into people, to heal people, it takes a long time. This is very wackadoo stuff in like the best way. You don't have to have understanding, but when you hear from somebody that this makes sense and they start to draw correlations for you, and I want to talk about how I would diagnose this next, it's like relieving to the soul. It's like, oh my gosh, there really is something to this. It's not just that I'm broken. It's not just that it's in my head. It's not just that my body is defective or I'm doing something wrong. No, you're not. Okay? No, you're not. So how would I tell? And then the other divergent that goes through this jaw area is the spleen. There's lots of other things in the mouth too. There's liver connections, heart connections, all kinds of stuff. Stomach, we talked about, large intestine, small intestine, gallbladder, like all these things go through the face. The kidney channel does not go through the face like directly. Gallbladder does. It comes into the ear and down into the side of the face. Up into the forehead. I think side of the eyes, gallbladder too. Is that right? Yeah. But the way that I would diagnose, is it a kidney divergent, a spleen divergent, a gallbladder divergent? Is it the Dai-MAI channel? Is it, what is it? Would be that I would, okay, so we have the tight jaw, great. Now, honestly, a practitioner like myself who's been practicing for a long time, we're gonna know a lot just from talking to you on the phone. We're gonna know a lot just from looking at your paperwork. But that's all theory, and anybody, again, good enough, experienced enough knows that's just theory, so I can have these ideas in my head, right? I'm sort of formulating something, but then this person sits down in front of me and I go, oh. And then they show me their tongue and I go, oh, and then I feel their pulse and I'm like, oh. Right? It's like more information. It's like reading a synopsis of a book versus reading an actual book. And so through those other symptoms, through the tongue, through the pulse, through abdomen palpation, through looking at the skin, through the patient giving me their own experience of life, right? I have these dreams or this happens or whatever. Then I go, oh, and I can see the pattern. So I talked about this the other day in my podcast about patterns. So these vessels and these channels, they all have patterns that will show up in the body in very clear ways. And it's really easy to see. And the reason I use multiple ways to do it is because I'm on my own and I don't want to make mistakes. And so I get as much information as I can from people to really reaffirm what I'm thinking so that it matches more closely. So basically, I'm going to be able to tell right away, is this more of a divergent kidney issue, divergent gallbladder issue, divergent spleen issue? Is this more of a straight stomach issue? Like, what are we dealing with here? And then what's the patient's history? And all those things together, and the body tells you, oh, we're dealing with more of a Dai-MAI issue. No, this is more of a stomach issue. This is more of a straightforward, more superficial kind of thing. And we can just get it to release. No, this has been going on for 30 years. This is, So then I can, speak to that pathology. So in this case, I can't speak directly to what it is because I don't have enough information. What I know is that it's bad enough that we've had to have an emergency root canal. And that right now, right, I'm not going to talk to somebody about this coming in. Right now, the issue is pain and inflammation. So I gave some thoughts about that. You can use, of course, over-the-counter things. It's attacks on the liver and or kidney. We want to avoid that. We want to avoid taxation. And here's the last thing I want to say about the jaw. And I would say this is true about the whole body, but specifically areas in the head and neck and jaw. When we have tightness this way, it very much speaks to me as a human, as an individual, and as a physician of trauma. And what I will tend to do with these kinds of things initially is a lot of gentleness. So what I might do initially, Lynn, and this is why I was saying also go get some other gentle kinds of therapy. You can get massage. A massage we can talk about another time. But gentle holding. Okay, so if I were to needle you, which I might not even do on your face, I would probably needle you on your feet to deal with the jaw, and or your hands perhaps. It would depend on the body, okay? But I don't like to go directly in when something is clenched. This is why I talked also the other day about working on the opposite side of the body. Because when you speak to the body in a more gentle way, when you are the parent to the body, the doctor or parent to the body that says, hey, like, I know that you're not feeling good. I know that you're, right? And you're not going in like, give me a hug, you know, aggressive love. It's gentle love. It's gentle touching. Sometimes it's not even touching. Sometimes it's just sitting. I've had whole sessions, and I think every one of these people who've had moments like this with me would tell you it was very much worth their time and money to not be touched, to just be, to sit with the person, maybe touch their foot with my foot, like, you know, toe to toe, shoe to shoe. Maybe it's just a look, maybe it's just sitting and really listening. But the gentleness of care when you are dealing with something so tight and wound up is often the thing that helps the most to help something to let go, right? That you don't push something harder or yank on something harder if you want something to relax. It's like when I hear people go in for a massage because they're really, really tight and they're like, I really want somebody to get in there deep and I need deep tissue. Like, that's so American. It's such a Western American idea that when it hurts more, we need more. When actually, sometimes when it hurts more, what we need is less. What we need is more gentleness, more softness. And the results that I've gotten over time with that kind of approach, especially with trauma, long held things, deeply held things. So if you've gotten surgeries or other modalities or therapies where they have helped, right? And that's fantastic. I am not against that. But if we're looking for long-term relief and long-term solutions to break habits and patterns, I would suggest in general looking at gentler therapies. And I would consider acupuncture to be gentle. I think there are things much gentler than acupuncture. I definitely have patients where I never needle them. You know, needles are not the answer. This is why I say I'm not an acupuncturist. It's just a technique. There's lots of techniques for treatment. So anyway, this was very long-winded. I'm very swirly today in it. Lots happening. It is very, very foggy outside. What is that? Oh, my class. My class is in 2 hours. All right. I have yoga. I have other things to do creatively and all the things. I hope you do too. I hope you have a great day. Do something kind for yourself today. If nobody hugs you today, hug yourself. I'll do that too for myself. Like, be kind to yourself, okay? Look in the mirror and say something really nice to yourself. Tell yourself you love yourself. I love you.